Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Find Your Fuze podcast. Today, we had the absolute pleasure of interviewing a friend of mine, Brittany Richmond. She is not only a best-selling author, but a world-renowned speaker, and she is changing the lives of teens and women all over the world through anxiety.
And to clarify, she's not giving anyone anxiety. She's helping you through yours. So it was an absolutely fascinating conversation as someone myself who is very deep into the mental health world and I love all things the brain. This conversation was everything. So if you are someone who has either experienced anxiety, maybe your teen or child is experiencing anxiety, or you just know someone, this episode is for you.
Welcome to Find Your Fuze, the podcast and community for women who know they're meant for more.
We're your hosts, Brooke and Kelly, two founders, two entrepreneurs, and two best friends who are figuring it out just like you. Because if you have found that success is anything but a straight line, then you're in the right place.
Join us each week as we go through all things business and all things real life.
We're going to bring you along for the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Grab your drink, get comfy, and get ready for a chat with your new best friends.
Let's like this shit.
Hello! Welcome to another podcast. We are thrilled to have a special guest with us today. Not only is it a friend of ours, but also just a total badass. So today we have the Brittany Richmond. The crowd goes wild. She's in the house, and we're gonna talk all things anxiety. We're gonna talk about what it's like life as a professional speaker, and also like what fun 80s pop culture references that she adores, because we're all in that millennial age range that love that. So thank you so much, Brittany, for being with us.
I'm so excited. I love when people make me sound like a bigger deal than I am. So I'm like, crowd goes wild. Let's just put in like a sound of like clapping and cheering, all the things. But seriously, I'm so happy to be here. Also, side note, could you imagine if somebody said anything other than they were happy to be here? Like if someone was like, I really do not want to be here right now. Like, what are people supposed to say? I'm always like,
I'd be like, hey, have a good day.
It'd be like,
right, exactly,
cool.
bye.
I'm going to go just fuck myself. Thank you.
I love it.
Okay, so before we dive in, most of our every single one of our episodes, we start with duality questions, kind of a pros and cons type thing. But tell our lovely audience about you. Just give us like what makes you tick. Who are you?
Gosh, this question. So I struggle talking about myself because I'm always like, what do you want to know? My trauma or my favorite color? Like what direction are we going with what do you want to know? But, well, my favorite color is pink. My trauma is no, but like you said, my name is Brittany Richmond. I am an award-winning teen mental health speaker. I'm a best-selling author. I'm an aspiring 80s rock star, and I'm so happy to know both of you. I mean, I don't know what else you want to know. I'm married. I don't have human children. I have two feline children that are literally the loves of my lives. I love all things glittery. I love sports. I live in the country. I live in central Illinois. So literally in the middle of a cornfield. That is me. And yeah, I'm just like excited to be here. I don't know what else you want to know, but I'm happy to answer all the questions.
No, one of my favorite things about you is just like how you freaking show up, just you. You're like, I'm going to wear a tutu and Vans and a leather freaking jacket, and I'm going to rock it on stage and at the grocery store.
Yes. Listen, I mean, most of the time I'm at the grocery store, I'm in like sweatpants and a tank top, to be honest. And I'm like, please nobody notice me. Like, it's one of those things. But you always see everyone you've ever met when you look your worst. So I don't know how that
every
works.
time.
But
every episode at the same time.
Listen, I like when I first started speaking, the first time I walked out on stage in front of teenagers, I wore like high heels, like a 3-piece suit, like because I thought that's what there's perception of quote unquote professional was supposed to look like. I want to be very buttoned up and all those other things. And then what I realized very quickly is how they picked up on the fact that I was not myself. I created a barrier between me and my audience. And at that point, I was like, what do I want to show up as? Who am I as a person? So I really started leaning into like this personal identity, which I think shows up in a lot of what I do. So yeah, I will wear Vans. It's my little homage to Fast Times at Ridgemont High because Spicoli always wore Vans. And I love the 80s. I love 80s music. I love 80s movies. I reference The Breakfast Club all the time. It's a big part of my talk. I love all of that. And I love feeling like myself. And when you show up as yourself, you have way less anxiety. You're way less stressed out. You're excited to do what you do. I mean, you both know, you both show up authentically as yourselves too. And it levels you up as a person. And yeah, I'm messy, man. I'm messy. Let's
No,
just
we
lean
love it.
into it.
I
I
was
love
gonna say,
that.
mic drop, end episode. That was great.
No, it's so true though. Like we're all messy. We're all living this messy middle. I feel like that is life. We're all just trying to figure it out. And I always try to remind myself, I'm like, we are literally on a floating rock hurling through the sky or the cosmos. Like it's fine. Nothing is that serious. Like move on. Keep going.
I would agree. And it takes the pressure off yourself to be this perfect person. I think we live in this world where, like, if we mess up at all, like, people love to watch you fail. They love to bring up past mistakes and all of these things and just, like, push people down. But I'm like, man, I'm just trying to live all that out loud. Like, you can't hurt me because I'm gonna sit at the table and tell you all the things that, that have happened. So it's just a thing. So
Literally, heck yes. Okay, so as previously mentioned, we have duality questions. So the first one is, what is a time when anxiety felt like it was holding you back, but actually became a source of strength?
oh my gosh, every day. And I mean that, like, honestly, because I've struggled with anxiety my whole life. You can't cure it. You can manage it and learn to live with it, but living with it is consciously aware that it's there. And I mean, we think as normal human emotions of anxiety, when you feel like you're failing or you're not good enough, you amplify that by, like, people like myself that live with these disorders and these mental illnesses, and it's like you're just constantly in this state of fight or flight. So it's like, how do you manage that so you can be productive and energetic and excited and still see value and worth that you're doing, let alone yourself? So, but if you want to talk about, like, a tipping point moment where anxiety really kind of transformed my life, was when, I set out, I worked my entire high school career to get into film school. And if you guys know anything about, like, film schools, like, there's really only prestigious ones in the country, and I live in small town rural America. Like, there's no way that they're gonna pick someone who's not from New York or LA or who have all these resources and all these connections, right? So, I had to work my entire high school career to prove that I belonged at Columbia College in Chicago, which is arguably one of the best in the country. I even went up to Toronto, Canada my junior year and took a film class just so I could get a certificate that says, "Look at what I've done," like, really trying to prove myself. And I worked so hard for this. And when I went on the campus tour, in Chicago, the long story short, I had a massive, very public anxiety attack that day. And one of my very first, very public ones, we didn't even know that's what it was. I just had, like, this massive mental breakdown at the end of the campus tour. And then when I moved in a few months later, I lasted a handful of days before I dropped out and moved home. So I worked my entire life for this one thing, and I couldn't hack it because I couldn't figure out how to talk about how I felt, why things were so much harder for me and so easy for other people. I mean, it really led to this almost like this crisis that I was in. I mean, when you talk about feeling like a failure when you're not in college, you're a college dropout a few weeks in, and everybody knew what you were like. It's just, and you're 18. Oh my gosh. It just led. So that was my butterfly effect moment. If that would not have happened, I would not be here having this conversation with you today, which is wild, right? Like, wild to think about. But
What's
yeah.
even more wild to me too, I love that story and I love your story and thank you for sharing it so vulnerably because that's hard. That was a moment where you're like, I wanted something, I got it, and then went, I can't do it. And that's hard.
Oh my God.
But this was also at a time where mental health, anxiety, those were not conversations that were being had the same way they are now at all.
No. No, and just for context, I'm almost
Yeah.
40. So we're talking 20 years ago, which doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was that long ago. Having these conversations with my mom now, only now are we recognizing, in the last handful of years with therapy and counseling, that was like an anxiety attack. At the time, it's just like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with
Mhm.
you? Like, suck it
Yeah.
up, like, do better. But I mean, it's just wild to think about. So
Yeah. So the opposite side of that duality. What's a moment where you felt completely in your zone and confident, even if no one else could see it?
gosh, every day, which is a really cool answer to your duality question. Is every day it, has the opportunity. Again, this is about living with something and not struggling with it, right? Like, being confident. Confidence, I get that comment all the time from people, is like, you're so confident, you're so confident. It's like, it's not really confidence. You can't be confident until you've accepted who you are. So I have accepted the fact that I live with certain things that a lot of people don't, but also a lot of people do. I don't try to rally against it. I try to live with it, right? So the confidence only comes from accepting and then doing the work, right? Because there was an option to not do the work, not go to therapy, not be on medication, not try and find coping skills, and not take ownership over my mental health and just live in this place of suffering and just, just accepting that this was just my life. That is hard to do, but doing the work is also hard to do. So, whichever direction you decide to choose, the amount of work is the same, is what I tell people. Like, you're either going to work to be better or work to be miserable. It just is what it is. So,
Pick your heart. Did you
Yes, I love
did
that.
you have a moment in your journey where you did pick the opposite heart and you were like, "No, this all does suck and I am miserable." Like, did you have that moment with yourself too? Because I feel like that's so human.
gosh, again with the answer of every day. Every day I'm faced with the choice of like, do I get up early and do the things good for my mental health, like work out and read, or do I just lay in bed and be miserable? Like there are little little baby choices every single day. So I tell people, you have to focus on being 1% better every day. That leaves room for the human side, because there are days when I can't get out of bed, or I lay in the shower and cry till there are, blood shots in my eyes. But there are also moments when you thrive and you're just like, but you're going to get out of those moments. That's the acceptance, right? It's like, look, I've made it through to the other side of this so many times. I'm going to let myself move through this because I literally just need it. And then we're going to be okay on the other side. So,
Yes. Yeah.
Amen.
Again, we could end the episode right here.
Can you tell she's a professional speaker and just like is naturally wonderful? Yeah. Okay, Brittany. So one of my favorite things about you is when we first met, it was in Nashville at a conference and years ago. And I remember being like, who is this woman? And oh my gosh, she also speaks to students. Because at the time, that was the area that I wanted to
mhm.
come with my speaking career. I no longer do that for right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just where my path has led me. But I want to hear for you, like tell Brooke, tell our audience, like why students and why is that age range so dang important to you?
Well, Rory and AJ Vaden said years ago, I was at a conference and they were on stage. They're amazing humans. They said, "You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were." And if I had to think about my whole life, like it was like those critical years, I remember so vividly being at like freshman orientation and as a high school student. And someone speaking was like, "These are the best 4 years of your life." And I remember thinking after it was all over, I was like, those were literally some of the worst years of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go back like to when I was younger, having vivid trauma memories, all these things. Like we can go back to when it all started, right? But the moments that really stand out were, you're at a critical age in development. You're not just physically, but neurologically, emotionally, socially. All of these things are literally rapidly changing. And you add on top of that struggle, trauma, abuse, neglect, comparisons, limitations, expectations, pressures, societal, all these things, right? You add all that on top. And then you try so hard to fit in, and then you fake who you are, and then you believe those things about yourself, and then you start to, all of the breakfast, literally, that's every teenage life is we think we know things about each other, but in reality, we're all very similar. We're dealing with similar things. We're dealing with comparisons, limitations, expectations, pressures, trauma, abuse, neglect. We're dealing with all of that. And, so I just remember thinking when I was younger in high school, I was like, man, if somebody could just stand in front of me and tell me that they not only know how I feel, but they made it through to the other side. Like I just need to know I'm going to get through this. And that's what I think of. And that's why I feel like I do work with adults too. I do. I know, Kelly, I've told you I've worked with women's groups and things like that. And because, what happened, hello, I grew up and didn't heal from all that. So I speak to adults too, right? But the teenager, I feel like I know their language. I see them, I hear them, I am them. I'm literally them. I just pay my own bills now. That's the only difference between me and a teenager is I pay my own bills, but I just feel like they get me and I get them. So I
Yeah.
adore
Some of my favorite content of yours is on the social medias is when you're like hugging a student and you're like, someone told me about their struggle and I was the only person that they told so far. Like I literally have tears thinking about it because that's such a powerful moment for you to stand in front of thousands of students and you having such an open heart, not only for the students that are in front of you, but individual students that are in front of you. I think that's the difference between being a speaker and also just like being a great freaking human, you know?
I Well, first of all, I appreciate you saying that, and I wanna let you know that, like, I think as especially when I started, I wanted to be on stage, I wanted to be on stage, right? And then but you quickly learn, at least I did, that the stage is just the point, the barrier to entry of really the moment that matters, and it is the moment you get off stage. And I did a 35-minute talk at a student leadership conference this past year in Indiana, and I was off stage. We were up to, like, 1 it was just, like, hours that I spent having one-on-one conversations. I mean, just the stories you hear, the moments you get to experience. And I'm not trying to, I say this very humbly, but that is what these decision makers and event planners typically remember about me is those spaces that are created afterwards. And it's not even just that, it's the DMs, it's the emails, I've heard it multiple times from different students, a handful of times, and I'm so grateful for this comment that they typically that I've heard from these few students is, you hear a lot of mental health speakers. This is not something they're not used to today, but the few like testimonials that really have stood out to me are the ones that are like, it felt like it was just her and I in the room. It felt like she was speaking to me. And a few people have said, I've heard mental health speakers before, but no one has said it this way. And again, it's because I literally am them. Like I know what it's like. And yeah, and I get so vulnerable with my stories, right? And I think that college story, I tell it in much more detail, but when I tell it and then I reveal that I've dropped out, I think there's this big like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, it was that bad? It's like, but I don't want it to get that bad for you. I want to
Mhm.
give you the tools so when things start to feel bad, we can reel it in, right? Like, we can start to take away that pressure. But I'm going to keep rambling. But yes, thank you. I appreciate the comments.
No,
No,
it really is such a testament to everything you just said. Like you are them, you understand them. Like for the skill of being able to speak to people and for them to feel like you are in their head going like, "Hey, those are my thoughts. How did you get those?" Like that is truly a skill and something you should definitely be able to pat yourself on the back for, and it just shows how much you deeply and intimately understand where they are at in their journey and how to get them to the next level outside of the anxiety or with anxiety in the passenger seat rather than driving the car. And the other piece too that really stuck out to me is really just like so much love for the fact that you do dedicate so much time to after and off the stage because I think that's what makes the difference between a good speaker and a great speaker personally because there are so many speakers out there and no offense to them everyone has boundaries and personal time but they
Of
speak and they
course.
leave and my best interactions I've ever had with speakers are ones where I've gotten to even just thank them for their time after even if it was a brief 60-second interaction it is still so much more meaningful than their exit being, exit stage left and you never see them again.
I know, and I
yeah,
appreciate that
we
too. Yeah, I was just gonna say, Cal, like, I think that at least in the work that I do, the number one contributing factor, at least the Center for Disease Control says it's a number one contributing factor to the severe outcomes to mental health struggles that we see in teenagers, like the outcomes, right? Like the things that people do when they struggle, fill in your own blank, is isolation. So if you can give people space to just unburden themselves of how they feel, I mean, the more you talk about how you feel, the less power it has over you. So just to give them that permission and that space of like, oh my gosh, someone else is talking about it, that means I can talk about it too, which is what I talk about is how to talk about how you feel to unburden yourselves. But on a sidebar, I always get the comment of how can you be on stage if you have pretty severe anxiety? Like, listen, you should see me one on one. It's a little awkward, it can be awkward, but I'm so much more comfortable in front of thousands of people. And that's how I know this is the Lord's work that what I do. And I'm sure I'm speaking to people of faith. If you don't, that's fine. But for me, it's like literally God, he he doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And this is just a skill he gave me to do this. So I'm honoring him in this process too. So
and I mean, obviously, big God girls here. I'm obsessed with this. And we were at a conference, Brooke and I, in July, in LA, and I saw Sierra speak, like the Sierra.
mm,
Um, and she was talking about, to not be stressed out, but to be blessed out. And afterwards, she waited and we were able to meet her. And I had like tears in my eyes. And I just said, that stressed out to blessed out. Cause she talked about God during her entire speech. Like, these are things that make you special to me. And I don't think I've ever listened to Level Up more in my life, but the last month, because I'm like, every cent that she gets for me listening to this, bring it. And so anyway, I love your heart. Obviously, I love your faithfulness. I love your mission. I love that you said that it was literally a gift because it is. And I think that's something I get often is people are like, "How are you so joyful? Like, what do you mean? Like, why are you just like so open and friendly?" And I mean, there are days when Brooke's like, "Kelly, you need to go to yoga because you're gonna kill someone."
You go to yoga.
We all have those moments.
Stretch that
She'll do
out,
it to me.
girl.
She'll do it to me. She's like, Brooke, have you meditated today? And I'm like, stop.
But it's one of those things where someone recently asked me, they're like, "Why are you so joyful?" And straight up, zero hesitation, I was just like, "Jesus." Like,
Love it.
I am joyful because of Jesus. Like, I get to live the life that I have because of him. And there are days that is hard, and there are days that we cry, and there are days that I'd rather not get out of bed, but I get to get out of bed. I have 2 legs. I get, like there so much that I'm grateful for, even through sorrowful times for me. And I love that your mission is surrounded by that as well.
I love this. Let's not get emotional.
Follow-up question on the student front. Obviously, school is different now than it was when any of us went to school, really, with the rise of social media and how much more access students have to like one another in that way outside of the school hallways. Have you noticed any correlation or like rise in like challenges students are facing with anxiety while you're in these schools hearing stories that relates back to that? And do you have any advice for a student maybe in school dealing with bullying or anything that might be happening?
Oh, well, so this, when I talk about the Breakfast Club in my talks, I am always like, you don't have to have seen this for me to make my point. And my point is that, like, a point I make with that is times may change, decades change, what we listen to, how we dress, what's going on in the world. It may all look different, but what we go through, it never changes. We all experience angst, anxiety, depression, bullying, both sides, being a bully, not being a bully, all these things. We all experience all of that. There is something so true about the typical teenage experience, right? Like there's a reason we've made movies about it and we talk about it all the time. What we did not see coming was this, what Jonathan Haidt called the largest, most uncontrolled experiment known to man. And that is the rise of screens on young people. And he says that in the book, The Anxious Generation. If you've never read it, and I'm speaking to anybody, according to the listeners, as an adult, I would read it. I probably wouldn't read it as a student because it's, very statistic heavy and like you may not fully grasp it just yet. But he does talk about the direct correlation, not just in the United States, we're talking worldwide, between when screens entered, not just social media, but screens themselves entered the chat. And we just have seen this up and to the left rise of anxiety, depression, self-harm, suicide, comparisons, all of these things, drastic changes, drastic up and to the right. Not like, oh, a little bit, but that's normal, like it's, oh my goodness, this is a crisis. What is going on? And that's the direct correlation. He does say in the book too, though, like, prove me wrong. If this is not the variable or one of the contributing variables, find it, please. We have to. But he, his process in the book is phone-free schools. And right now, I believe we're up to 19 states that have implemented phone-free schools. My husband's school just started this year. And it's almost like you got to get through. And every time I go to a school for an assembly, I'm always like, do you have phone-free schools? Because I'm looking to know, first of all, what type of culture I'm walking into, but I want to know, like, has it been helpful? And every single time, he even talks about it in the book, everyone's like, the first few weeks were rough, right? Like, we got to get through basically withdrawal symptoms. You get angry, irritated, like all these things, but they're like, man, positive test scores, more socializing, emotional intelligence is increasing, interactions are better, less disciplinary action. I mean, you're seeing nothing but positive correlations. Now, do I believe it's the only variable? Absolutely not. People ask me all the time, like, what do you think the key component is for mental health? I'm like, how much time do you have? Because there's like 18,000 variables, right? Like it's because we've always had it, right? It's just but I think this is a big approach. So I'm excited to see what that looks like in the future. So,
That book has been on my TBR for a while. You're the second person to recommend it to me, so I need to bump her up.
so good. I mean, the first, you'll be so drawn in, like he also talks about the different parenting styles and the pendulum, all these different things, right? But like the variables are definitely hard to ignore. So
Yeah, I'm adding that one.
Yeah.
to read this.
So
That
good.
sounds incredible. Thank you.
So good.
So moving kind of out of that and more kind of into the real talk, your story, anxiety in general, can I say all the time that we are very different brains and how we process information is different, how we dissect information different, and how we sit with information is very different. And we've had to have basically like dating conversations. Like, how do you take feedback? How can I love on you? Like these things that like you would ask a real partner. We are partners. Like her husband jokes that he has 2 wives now because I talk to Brooke way more than he does. So shout out to Alec. He's incredible. However, when it comes to anxiety, our anxiety are both different flavors. So
Yes.
how do you see that show up differently in people? Because anxiety is different per human. And also, like, maybe there's a bit of your experience that you can explain how yours is different.
I love that you brought this up because whenever I'm talking to young people and even adults, I like to make the distinction like anxiety itself is normal. Let's not say it's not. We need to understand that anxiety is normal. We have to have it. Fight or flight, freeze, all these different F's that we got thrown around right now. Like it's just so many. Everyone always adds an F. They're like, oh, now there's like fawning or frolicking. I don't know. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
I would love that reaction.
it's
My anxiety.
I'm like, it's a little well, like, I'm an OG psych person, and I'm like, fight or flight, fight or flight. We don't really need anything else. But it's just so funny. I'm like, oh, this is a trend. But yes, I always make that distinction and then, kind of showcasing like what causes it to be an issue, like when it becomes an issue. And then of course understanding that how you experience anxiety is going to be different than how I experience anxiety and vice versa. Like there's so many, it's such a spectrum anxiety is. I mean, mental health in general is such a spectrum. There's a reason in like clinical world, like the DSM, which is the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual, it's sitting on my shelf back here. Even to be diagnosed with a mental illness, you only have to hit certain criteria out of so many, right? So like it's such a spectrum, right? So I think that like one of the things that has really helped me is again learning how to advocate for myself and take ownership over that. Like understanding that, and this might ruffle feathers, and I'm okay with that, but that means that's a you problem you need to examine if it ruffles your feathers. But my anxiety is nobody else's problem but my own. Ergo, your anxiety is nobody else's problem but yours. And I think that that is designed to be a power statement, right? Not a victim statement, right? Which some people might take that way. And I feel like depending on where you're at in your life, you might feel it that way. And that's okay too. But just recognizing that you want to take control and power back, it's time to understand your triggers, understand like how you can advocate for yourself, how to put words to how you're feeling. And that's the work that's involved, right? Is understanding that. So, for example, I write about this in my book. It's do not do well being a passenger princess, they call it, I guess you'd say today. And not in a sense like you're thinking, it's not a safety issue. It's nothing like that. Or I drive better. I like to be in control of when I leave places and when I go to them. If I feel like I can't leave, if I don't have freedom, I start to feel very trapped. I get very anxious. I get RBF like you wouldn't believe. I'm irritable with everybody and everyone knows it. You know what I mean? Like I have an aura that just, if Brittany's in a mood, like everybody feels it. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that to people. You know what I mean? And I definitely don't want to do it to my husband, who's way more social than me. It's like annoying. He has like all these different friend groups. And I'm like, I literally just want to stay with my cat. Like I just leave me alone. But so we, in our marriage, advocating for myself is when we go places, and some people might think it's crazy, but we typically drive separate because I know that I'll want to leave, which is great for me. Like I'm having a great time. But when I've hit that wall, it's like, all right, see you guys later. Irish goodbye. Maybe I'll sneak out the back. I have to go to the bathroom.
Social battery.
Exactly. But he'll stay and have a great time. And it's good for him. It's good for our marriage. It's good for my mental health. I mean, it works out well for everybody. But that's advocating for, that's understanding that it's not his problem to leave the party early. It's not his problem to, you know what I mean? Like, or make up an excuse for his wife because she doesn't want to go, because she doesn't want to be trapped. This is just works out really well. And that's the ownership piece, right? Is my anxiety is not his problem. Now, I want to go on record saying he loves me. He always wants to make my life comfortable, but I don't make that an expectation on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I would say about that.
I think that example is honestly also a perfect example of a healthy relationship in play and something that we should all hear and learn more about, because a lot of people online, like there's, all of the trendy language of green flag, red flag, beige flag, all of that stuff that goes around. And sure, I can giggle about it and make a funny post about it. But like, no, in reality, a healthy marriage, relationship, whatever it may be, is respecting each other and what each other needs. But that does not always mean to the deflect or to the fault of the other person. Like, there is nothing wrong with y'all doing separate things in that evening if that is what works best for each of your social batteries, and like you respect that and love that in each other. And I just really love that, because it's not the same example. I feel like so many people would be like, no, we just like we leave, we go together, we leave together, it's all this perfect magical thing. It's like, nope, it can play out different ways.
Yeah, and but that's understanding, right? Like taking ownership. If for a while I thought it was social interaction I didn't like, right? Like that's not the work. That's just like, this is just an excuse. I can't be social, can't be friendly, don't invite me. Like that's not what it is. It's the feeling of not being able to leave that is my issue. That is the trigger. So
Yes.
but that's the work, right? Like you can just accept it and then so that's what therapy does for you, friends. Therapy is cool. We love therapy. Make therapy great. Finally, is what I say. Like, make it great.
Also
Huge
huge
therapy
proponents of therapy. Yeah. Big therapy fans over here. I'm gonna find
I
your
don't know
Fuze
how people listen. Everyone needs therapy. People are like, I don't need therapy. The people who say they don't need it are the people that do. So it's like, come on
Say
now.
that louder for the people in the back.
them. Like, there are friends of mine that I know need it, and I love them more than life itself. I'm like, here's money. Like, here's money. Go see my therapist. And they're like, this, please go. Go for me. Don't go for you.
I did a talk once in front of our high school that like we went here. My husband teaches there. We know all the kids, all the families and stuff. And I did a panel discussion for Mental Health Awareness Month one time. I was talking about like couples therapy. I was like, therapy's great. We love couples therapy. And then you hear all the kids go, and I'm like, oh, and I paused and I was like, you know what that was? And everyone's like, and I'm like, that's the stigma in real time. Like that was literally the stigma that all of your generation is trying to get rid of, but you just showcased it to me. That's what that is. And because I was like, friends, the best time to go to therapy is when nothing is wrong, is when things are good, because it's designed to keep you well. You want to be on the offense, not the defense, right? I was like, that's why everyone needs therapy, because life is inevitably going to happen to all of you. And you're going to have the tools to get through that when it's time. So just that kind of like, that's the stigma, and it's nobody's fault. It's just a lack of understanding. So I think like putting that understanding out to the world is really important.
Oh, amen. Amen. So I'm happily divorced, and we went to couples therapy for months before we got divorced. And it was more of I've been going for years and he never wanted to go. And I was like, let's just chat together. Like, we can't chat together. This is obviously a problem. Let's talk about it. And he still, years later, is going to therapy. And he credits me for that, because I
Love it.
brought him into a room where he could talk to someone he doesn't know about things that are happening. And it makes me happy. Like, about a year after we got divorced, he had sent me a random text message that was this long letter. And he's like, hey, in therapy, I wanted to write you a letter because it's all about like things I never processed and things that I never saw in our marriage. And I just want to thank you for that. And therapy's really helping me. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Love that.
So obviously we were like kind of the stigma of like, we're going to couples therapy, but it really helped both of us in our therapy journey separately. And that makes me feel so happy for him, because
Love
everyone
that.
deserves that. Everyone deserves happier mental
Yeah,
health. Or like, if you're having a day, call your therapist. Like, my therapist is one of my favorite people. Be like, what are the chances you have a sick, you know?
I would agree. I love that. I love it.
Something I want to add here too, for anyone listening, if you've ever gone to therapy and not had a fun experience, like, and fun's not even the right word, but like, we're all talking about how great it is and it's the shit and you need a therapist. It takes time to like find a therapist. It's kind of like dating.
Yeah.
Like, so like, if you're
Yeah.
going to therapy and you're like, I hate this, try a different person, because not everyone is the right fit. I will never forget, it took me a couple tries before I found the right one. I found the one. But like, I will never forget one of the first therapists I ever went to. I totally respect boundaries and time. Don't get me wrong. I understand like there's other people that they have to see after mine, but I was like hard, like gasping, sobbing, like couldn't breathe. And he literally went, so we're gonna put a pin in that and pick that up next time. And I was like, okay. And I was like, wow, that felt awful. So either A, don't ask me a question that's going to open a can of worms 10 minutes before the session's done, but I say that because like, if you're listening and you're like, I hate therapy, try a different therapist, because my experience with that person versus the one I have now, night and day.
I love that. And for anybody listening who's never tried therapy, I recommend betterhelp.com. For that reason exactly. And I mean, first of all, they take insurance, so which is great. You're in your comfort space, so you're more likely to open up if it's in your home. And to your point, you can set the criteria for a therapist right off the bat. Do you want them faith-based? Do you want male, woman? Do you want an age range? Do you want specialty? What are you struggling with? Like you can set all this criteria. And then if you don't like your therapist, you can literally just next time be like, nope, try another one. It's like a shuffle. So it's a really great platform for anybody interested. I am not associated with them, but I just love them.
I no,
Amazing.
I love that. Are there any other modalities? Like, obviously, therapy is a huge one, but are there any other modalities that you help students with, or just humans in general, when it comes to anxiety, or even ones that you use yourself?
Well, I'm a huge fan of physical activity. And I know when people hear that, they hear working out, lifting weights, hit training, all these things. And I'm like, whoa, nobody said that, right? Nobody said that. But what we do know is that moving your body changes the physiology of your brain. So we literally know it is good for your brain. So anything from like a walk or just like any sort of movement is going to be beneficial for your mental health. But really the thing that I really specialize in is taking that ownership piece. And I think a lot of times when we talk about mental health, even when I was a counselor, we always went into tell me how you're feeling. Here's ways to cope. Here's ways to do it. But chances are, like, what people really struggled with, especially young people, I'd hear from them is, I want to talk about my mental health more. I just don't know how. And if isolation is the number one contributing factor to the struggles that they're having, at least one of the major ones, then we've got to give them the tools to open their mouth. Nobody's going to understand how you feel and like if you don't open your mouth. No, but again, when I talk about Breakfast Club, like my book is titled Lies My Anxiety Has Told Me. And the lies that anxiety tells you are no one's going to understand how you feel. You're going to burden people with your problems. They're not going to get it. So what's the point? Or, all these different things. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm failing. Like, I don't want people to think I don't want people judging me. Whatever the lie is, all of those lies that we tell ourselves are designed to keep you in isolation. Because anxiety, if we were to pull it out of your brain and make it a person, is going to work to keep you isolated because that's where it holds the power. It's going to say, as soon as you get the courage to go talk to somebody, it's going to be like, well, don't you don't want to tell them because they're not going to get it anyway. So like, what's the point? And you're going to back off and you're not going to say it. But it's all a lie. And I love to push back on the one that is no one's going to understand me. So what's the point? So I always say, I'm like, if you've broken a bone, you break a bone, you go to the doctor, right? And when you walk in with your arm hanging off, whatever, a broken bone, does the doctor look at you and go, "Ooh, I can't help you right now. I actually have to go break my own arm first. Hold on. Let me go break my arm. I'll put it back together and then I'll come help you with yours." That's not what they do because the lie is so true. People do not have to understand how you feel in order to help you. It is a lie. It is just a lie. And so if we can start to take the power back by talking about how we feel and we start to get the power back, then that lie, all those anxiety is going to be like, ooh, ooh, no, no, no. Now I'm smaller. I'm diminished.
Yeah.
Oh, darn. Like you're actually getting power back now.
Yeah.
So that's goal, right?
I love that. I also think that more people do understand than you even think. Like all of the lies you just listed, I'm like, yep, my anxiety has said that in those exact words too. What the point? I don't want to burden like those exact words. There's probably more people out there that do actually understand exactly where you're coming from than you realize, but no one's talking about it to each other. And I hate for a while, there was this like trend where people were getting annoyed much more easily with like talking to a friend and then you trying to relate to that friend and going, oh my God, me too. Something like that has happened. And you share your experience. People like to call it like one upping. And I'm like, no, it's just sharing human existence and being like, hey, I see you. I understand you. I validate you. And so I don't know. I like to just point that out because I agree with you. People don't have to understand to be able to help you, but I would bet there's probably more people who understand you than you even think. You just have to let them try first.
I love that you brought up the one-upping thing because I definitely used to do that a lot in counseling, like, or a lot with working one-on-one because you're trying to build this bridge, this relationship, and this trust. But yes, the perception of someone who's struggling, it's all about their perception, right? Like, not our perception, their perception. So the tools that I give these young people or these adults, whoever I'm talking to create this space is to allow for that and it's trademarked, pending trademark, which is very exciting. My Tell Me More method. And it's just repeating this verbiage of tell me more to create this open dialogue in this space. And it I think the one reason too we tend to go into that, I hate calling it the one up thing because that's not the intention of a lot of people. But for lack of a better term, let's just call it that, the one upping. I think it's because we don't know how to help, right? So there was this study done recently where there's this theory that people want to help. I'm sure you two are just very much givers. You're like, if I saw someone in need, I would help them, right? Like I would help that person. Most people, you ask an audience, like, would you help someone if you saw them in need? Everyone's like, yes, of course I would. And I'm like, but did you know the research actually shows that you would probably opt out of helping that person? And what's interesting, so this study, there was this research team, they went on this busy interstate and they put like a broken down car on the side of the road, and like a research associate pretended to be like trying to fix the car and all of that, and busy highway, just like hundreds and hundreds of cars going by. About a mile up the road, they set up like a roadblock, and this is where they conducted their research. So these cars pulled up to this roadblock. And one of the first questions they asked, like, do you consider yourself a helpful person? Like, if you saw someone in need, would you help them? Like all of these things, right? Like 5 questions. And everyone said yes. Everyone unanimously, of course I would. Yes. And then the last question was, hey, there was a car broken down like a mile back. Did you stop to help that person? Every single car reported no. And they were like, why? There was a follow-up. Like, why didn't you? And everyone gave like generally different answers, but the overarching theme was, I don't know how to fix the problem. I didn't know what solution to provide. I didn't know how to help this person, so I just chose not to. And doesn't make you a bad person. It's just the human condition. We're such problem solvers at nature that when we don't see a solution, we just say, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna not and just hope the universe figures it out. I'm just gonna let it play itself out. This person's got it. Someone else will help them you know? And so I think when we get into this one up space, when we have these conversations, it's almost like a defense mechanism. We don't know how to fix it. So we're just trying to create a relationship. We're just trying to say, hey, I get it. But like, but take the pressure off yourself. I think like that's what the tell me more method is so good at also. It takes the pressure off the person like listening, the active listener, to solve the problem. No one's asking you to fix it. No one's asking you to provide a solution. Take that pressure off yourself. Just create the space, because when someone starts to unburden themselves of how they feel, they start to take their power back. And that's really the biggest solution you could give them, is taking back their power. So I went a long way around that, but there we go. There we go.
I love it. I love that so much. I know you had mentioned a little bit earlier about how, you feel so comfortable talking to 1,000, but like, wait till I'm awkward and it's one-on-one. I feel very, very similarly. Very similarly. If someone gives me a mic and I can just go and serve 100 people, I'd rather that than like have to sit one-on-one with someone. And so, yeah. So is there anything maybe like ritual wise that you do before getting on stage? I know you work out usually if it's like a local one or even not, but like what else do you do before getting on stage to be like so show ready? I'm Brittany Richmond. Let's freaking go.
Honestly, I think I'm so routine oriented and structured. Like no matter what, even when I'm traveling, I still get up, do a workout. I still try to keep my routine. I still do the same habitual things, because if things get knocked off, and that's even in my everyday life, like it's something I'm working on, right? We're working on it. But like if I had like locked in on something, like let's say like we were planning, even something so simple, we were planning on making dinner tonight, like we're gonna watch NFL football, all these things, but I got a phone call maybe like in a couple hours, and they were like, oh, this has happened, we have to go do this, or we're gonna go do this instead. It's like I have an instant physiological response because my predictability was knocked off course. Doesn't mean I hate the idea, doesn't mean I don't want to do it. And I recognize that I have this physiological response. When I am out, you should see me like 4 days leading up to traveling. I am unwell. I'll just be honest with you. It is a struggle for me to leave my house to go speak at events. That's why I only do about 40 or 50 a year. I say only humbly because a lot of people will do hundreds of events. Like they do hundreds of gigs. They love it. They're out there hitting the pavement all the time. I like just cannot do it. And I recognize that about myself, but I do what I can. I want to do it well. I want to show up 100%. And if I do more than that, I'm not well. I've been on stage when I've been not well. And I'll tell you what, adrenaline takes over and that's great. but you still don't feel great about it when you're done, right? Like you're like, that was not centered. That was not the performance I wanted to have. And so to honor myself, like I have to respect those boundaries. Yeah, and I just wanna make sure I stay as much on my routine as possible because predictability is key. Again, anxiety makes you feel out of control, right? Like, that's the big thing. You're out of control mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is, and the way to take control is to control what you can, recognize what you can control, and I can control my habits and my routine, so
I
I'm
love that.
obsessed with that. I
I love
yeah.
that.
Literally obsessed with that, and Brooke and I are in a season of, like, trying to get our own routines, and we're 3 hours apart. So, the hard part is, like, okay, Brooke needs X in the morning to feel good. I need X in the morning to feel good, and if we're off, I know it, and I can feel it in my own body. I'm similar to you, though, about plans, and I never thought about it that way because 'cause I'm also an extrovert. I love people, I love doing things, whatever. If something does change, I'm like, "Oh my god, my calendar. What do you mean?"
Uh-huh. Yeah,
You
it
spoke to me.
it is like, sometimes it's the most ridiculous thing. My husband knows it so much about me though, like, praise God for, like, that him. He'll be like if someone does something like that, he'll be like, "Do you know my wife? She's not gonna take this well. Like, you tell her." Like, it's just I mean, he's being a little dramatic, but, like, if something happens and throws off my day, like, I even if, like, you would've contacted me to cancel this podcast and reschedule, I would've been like, "Oh god," and it's not a you thing, it's like, that was my day, like, I was like I mean, I get over it super fast, don't make it sound like too dramatic, but I would just be like, "Man, like, okay, what am I gonna do with that hour now?" Like, it's very strange. It's very strange. I'm a weirdo, okay? I
We're
understand it. I
weird.
own it. Own it. Like, own it.
We all have certain kinds of weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With you though on a routine being the perfect like central grounding thing. What I need to get better at is I love that you keep up with your routines when you travel. That is, I don't know why, so hard for me. Like I can be the most regimented like routine person when I'm home, but the second I am no longer in my space, out the window. And I am like, gosh,
I mean, as best you can, right? Like, I think just as best you can. Oh my gosh, you should see me when there's flight delays or I'm stuck at an airport and something gets thrown off. I am unwell. Like, that is a situation that I meltdown in. But like even when we go on vacation, even when it's a leisure non-work thing, it's still like, okay, gotta have book a place with a gym, gotta do that because I just I just feel so much better when I start a certain way. It doesn't have to end that way necessarily, but like if we start off well, because if you don't start off well, it's like, oh my God, it's just a struggle. It's just a struggle.
I hear that. Are you a morning person?
Yes, get me up at 5 AM. Listen, I don't like working past 3. Like, if the sun's coming in and I start to get hot from this window, I'm like, "I'm done. That's my clock out time."
mhm,
Literally amazing. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
I am not a morning person. And so even just in real life, the last couple days, I've had meetings start at 7 and I'm like, who are you, Kelly? What? Why are you up at 6, you crazy lady? Because usually I'm working till 10, 11, 12. And that's where, yeah. So my schedule is so opposite. Like, bless Brooke, because we're literally on opposite schedules. She's also an early bird and 3 hours ahead. So by the time I start work in the morning, Brooke's like, I'm off in 2 hours. And I'm
See you
like,
tomorrow.
okay, these are the things to talk about.
My goodness, my husband is the same way. He's like the opposite. But I tell you what, I think it's like it's not anxiety, it's brain activity. If my brain is still doing stuff that late, I won't go to sleep for a few hours. Like, it takes a while to, like, decompress this thing, okay? Brooke's like, "I
Yeah.
get it."
I get it. If I work, because we're a work in progress, but if I own this, if I work up until going to sleep, I will dream about work. Like the brain, it's not that I won't fall asleep. I'll have those nights, but I'll generally fall asleep, but I will just continue dreaming about whatever I was working on. And sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I wake up with like a new design idea, but 9 times out of 10, I'm like, that wasn't productive. That wasn't restful sleep. So I'm the same as you. I need like the shutdown time to just disconnect and like,
And I've known that about myself so much. Like, even back when, like, years ago when I worked like a 9 to 5, even working in the school system, like, it would start at like 8, and I'm just like, I am so much more productive like between 6 and noon. Like 6 a.m. and noon, I will get the bulk of my day done. What am I doing the rest of the day? And so sometimes if I'm up working late, like if I'm doing stuff like past like 6 or 7, and that's late for me, I'm like, clearly I had a time management problem today because I could have got this done, you know? So, but that's that structure. I set like alarms on my phone. Like, it's just like, people think working from home and working from yourself is like so simple and so easy. I'm like, you realize we got to create systems. People don't go, I don't go clock in anywhere where the system's created for me, right? Like, I have
Oh,
to make it. Okay. So,
Through blood, sweat, and tears, the system will be made.
and if you're not on task, or if I'm not on task, no one's telling me that. Like, I don't have like any like coworker pop in to be like, hey, did you finish this yet? I'm like, here, lottie dying on my own self. So I get it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a different level of anxiety for,
It
for those of us that do it.
Okay, so some fun questions to kind of like pivot from the anxiety conversation. Fast action. What are 5 random, fun, like authentic facts about you that you people would not know from watching your content, listening to you just now, or like seeing you on stage?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can come up with 5 because I live the weirdness out loud so much. But I think like one of the most random things, like when people ask me a random fun fact, I always tell this one. I'm like, I've had surgery to stop sweating. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. So I have a condition called hyperhidrosis. And in high school, it's excessive sweating for people that don't know. I would sweat so badly under my arms that this is not a joke. The tops of my pants, like my jeans, would be wet because the sweat would go so far down my side. And I always wore cardigans and sweaters. So I remember like after graduation, I was like, Mom, I just want this surgery to stop sweating under my arms. Please, dear God, I just want this surgery. I researched it. Now, remember, that was 20 some years ago. So now you can get like Botox and like all these things they do. In order for this not to be a cosmetic procedure and pay out of pocket, I had to try all the things on the market at the time to stop sweating under your arms. I did medication. I did certain deodorants. I did shock therapy on my armpits. Shock therapy. None of it worked. And so I got surgery. So, but here's the fun thing. So when they were in there, they nicked some other sweat glands. So now, but this is fun, I only sweat on the right side of my face. I don't sweat on the left side. I don't sweat on my hands anymore. And because it's your endocrine system or pituitary system, you don't sweat less. It just makes up for itself elsewhere. So now I get swass like you wouldn't believe, and you can edit that word out if you need to. But everything below the waist I'm sweating now. Like there's crotch sweat, all the things. Like I'm the grossest girl. I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, I'm the grossest girl you've ever met. Like I smell all the time. I sweat all the time. So what else do you want to know? Like it's just like,
Honestly, it's one of my favorite things about hot yoga because I'm like, I'm not the only gross, sweaty person in this room. Because I sweat so much and I never really thought about like looking into it. I just went, so did my grandmother, and it's a genetic shitty thing that you're dealing with. So
the irony is, it's like it would be bad because there'd be no reason to be sweating. I'd be cold. Like I'm fine now. Like I'm literally probably cold, but like there's just sweat pooling, and I have to sit on towels all the time. Like it's like a whole thing. But at this point in my life, I've owned it. So when I wear like dresses or I'm looking nice and I've got sweat right here, sweat marks in my stomach or my back, and people are like, I'm like, what? Like, I don't know what to tell you. What do you want me to do?
If it could be gone, it would be.
Right. So, I mean, I could probably come up with some other random facts, but that is probably the main fun fact about me. So,
Amazing.
And I love that. And thank you for sharing. That's obviously not, I mean, you're the most beautiful and authentic person, but I'm sure like even when you first started telling people about that, that's not an easy thing to say. So I love that fun fact. It's better than like my favorite color is pink, even though it is.
love that. I love that. I mean, if I had to pick one more, I do talk about the trichotillomania online though, but I have a hair pulling disorder. So I pull my eyelashes out. So actually right now on this eye, it's growing back right now. I recently had a pulling episode, but I like to talk about that. And I do own that one, again, living with, but more people struggle with that than people realize, a hair pulling disorder. So, but yeah, that's also a fun fact because I've had people before in one-on-one. You want to talk about this might be, where's my therapist? Is this a therapy session? Because maybe that's one of the reasons I struggle with one-on-one conversations is because people will notice these things. They'll notice the sweating or the lack of eyelashes and stuff like that. Like they'll note and they'll fixate on that and I'll obsess over that. And that's one of the reasons I struggle with one-on-one conversations too, is I obsess over what they're looking at. You know what I mean? I don't make eye contact with people. I've been called out before when people are like, "Why aren't you looking at me?" And I have had people have said that to me in one-on-one conversations. "Why aren't you making eye contact with me?" But to be honest with you, if I'm looking at you, I am not processing what you're saying because I am only obsessing over what you're looking at. You know what I mean? So if I don't look at you, I can actually hear you better.
And think about what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So one-on-one, I'm always like sometimes I have to tell people like, "Look, I'm not looking at you, but I'm listening because I just can't look at you." You know, like I won't hear you. Then but that's the ownership piece too, is when you become so aware and you've accepted these things about yourself. I'm not trying to change that about me. Like, I'm a better processor when I'm not looking at someone. And
Mhm.
so I have to tell them like, "Look, I'm listening to you." And I tell them why. Again, I think some people might hear that and be like, "Well, people are just complaining or just, constantly leaning or blaming, anxiety or it's like, I'm not. I'm actually living my life. I'm just letting you know that, if I was trying to fake my way through this, that'd be worse, you know? So,
Mhm.
wow, I went off on a tangent, but I guess that's what we're here
No.
for, right?
I I loved that tangent because I think it gave two very, like, real examples of how you really are living life with. It's not you trying to change everything about yourself, but it's understanding, like, "Hey, this is a thing about me, and I can either fight it, and it will help no one, or just be like, 'Hey, this is me. This is how I am,' and then you move on, and it won't be as big of a deal as it might feel in the beginning because you just move forward with it."
I agree. And I think like if I were again staying in this place of misery and just accepting that you live with these things and suffering is I wouldn't ever be in one-on-one conversations, but I am. I'm in those moments. I'm putting myself in these positions of that cause me a lot of anxiety, but in theory the more you do it the less it causes, which is absolutely true. But it's like I want to be there, but you just have to understand I'm making it easier for me. I don't need you to make it easier for me. I will make it easier for me. And that's the ownership piece, right?
Yeah, I really love that. So another fun question. Obviously, big Breakfast Club fans. Do you remember the first time you watched that movie?
I feel like I was with my mom. We did like an 80s movie binge, like Pretty in Pink, Weird Science, Fast Times,
Yeah.
Breakfast Club, all the things. I think I loved this one the most because I felt like, first of all, the 80s movies, how are they not relatable? Like, you can see yourself in any character in any 80s movie. Also, the 80s are just the best, okay? Like someone's gonna be like, "The 90s." I'll be like, "Absolutely not." Like, nobody cares. Like, the 80s are by far superior. Fashion, movies, music, all the things. And I will fight someone on this, but I I think it's because I saw myself in every character in that movie, and so I just love it. So I'm curious, I wanna ask you guys a question. Which character do you feel like you relate to the most in The Breakfast Club?
It's so hard because I have a similar thing. Is like I can feel different scenes from different characters. Man.
My answer, I hope it's not a cop out answer, but I would say it is all of them because I would not say I identified as the popular girl in general, but I also wasn't necessarily I'm gonna blank on names, but like the one that had like the black hair and like that was like a little more odd. Like I wasn't that either, but I would, so like there are pieces of all of them that I feel like were me. And especially in different facets of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Molly is literally like one of just an iconic human being in general. So every time I see her on everything, I'm like, I have to watch it. But I wouldn't say that I was really her in that movie either. So I don't really have that answer.
But I
Crap.
think I think that's the point though, of the people that watch it. I think that they're you see the messiness in all their lives and you're like, "Oh, I relate to parental expectations. I relate to school expectations. I relate to trauma. I relate to abuse. I relate to feeling isolated. I relate to." But they're all designed to represent these different types of situations, and I just think it's so so powerful, like so good. Recently was the 40th anniversary, and I said that in an adult session I did recently, and you heard all the adults go, "Oh," like
Oh,
it's like, and I'm like, "Oh, you were there?" I was like, when the theaters, like when it came out, I'm like, "What's that like?" But they had, and I was so mad because I was at a speaking engagement when they were in Chicago, which is 2 hours from me. All of the actors were there, and you got to meet them, and I was like, "Damn it! Let me odds that like I can't be there." I was so upset, but
oh,
they asked all the characters, like, "Do you think this movie is still relevant to today?" And one of them said, I'm not gonna call out which one, but one of them said, "No." It's not relatable. It's actually it doesn't fit with society. It doesn't fit with what's going on with young people. It's not relevant to today. And I said, I strongly but respectfully disagree because, like I said before, times may change. It's not the 80s anymore. I wish it was. It's not the 80s anymore. It's not the 90s. It's not the 2000s. Times may change, politics change, the climate changes, how we dress, the things we listen to, everything changes. But what we go through, how we feel, guess what? School still has expectations. We still deal with peer pressure. We still deal with parental pressure, trauma, abuse. Like I said before, none of that has changed. The fact that they all pretended to be a certain way or they only saw each other because of what they assumed about each other, guess what? Still happens, still relevant to today. Still relevant to today. Doesn't discriminate age, gender, race, sexuality, spirituality, physical fitness. None of that matters when it comes to what we go through because we go through the same emotions all the time. So yeah, I was like, man, I wish I was there. I would have been like, excuse me, I disagree.
That was probably God being like, Brittany can't fight today.
Right. We don't need her going viral for fighting with one of these Breakfast Club characters.
It's true that I also think even like with the juxtaposition of like social media, the Breakfast Club and that kind of even relate in the sense of like we see people online and assume one thing of their life when in reality we are only witnessing 5 minutes of someone's 24 hours in a day. You have no idea what's going on off that camera. And
Exactly.
something we all need to remember more.
Exactly. And like I said, things just change. There's another variable at play. Guess what? Doesn't matter. Still feel comparison, anxiety. It's like, ugh, I get fired up about it. But but I will tell you this. When I speak to teenagers, more people have seen this movie than you realize. Like
I love that.
the first time I told my husband I was going to talk about the Breakfast Club, he's like, ain't nobody going to be able to relate to that. And I was like, oh yeah? I was like, and I went to a school and did an assembly afterwards. One of the students came up to me. I have a picture with her. She was like, I'm so glad you talked about the Breakfast Club. It's my comfort movie. I have a Breakfast Club tattoo. And she showed me her tattoo and we got a picture together with her tattoo. And I showed my husband, I was like, excuse me, you said teenagers today don't relate to this. Like, you're wrong.
Correct.
I adore this.
I know. And he's a teacher. What the heck?
Yeah, exactly. Makes it worse.
That's so funny. So speaking of things that you're fired up, what is something right now that's just lighting you up? Like what's lighting your life right
Gosh, I I don't because I feel like I just have so much to be grateful for, like I have so much gratitude despite any sort of adversity that I go through. I've been working really hard at that, the gratitude despite adversity mindset. And by working hard at that, I mean for like probably 10 years or more, really because life is going to inevitably happen to all of us. And it's like, how do we stay rooted in gratefulness? But what's got me really fired up now is, last year, God really put it on my heart to reach more young people at one time and not through me, but through others. And I didn't know what that looked like. I still don't really know what that looks like. So I'm throwing a lot of things at the wall and whatever sticks is what he said. That's the one. So I've been working on building a community of youth thought leaders. Those are adults who speak to youth, who write books for youth, who do podcasts for youth, who into the youth community. So I've been working on building that community and it's been really beautiful. I've got 40 some members now and we're really working on because I recognize that like as much as I want to affect every teenager, I can't. Not everybody's going to connect with me, my message, my story. But if I can work with other people to reach those people, then that's what I feel like this ripple effect that could be created. So I've been working on that and that's got me fired up. I don't know what I'm doing. So TBD.
That's very much like finding your fuse, I think it's beautiful because you had mentioned earlier how, you only do 40 to 50 speaking events because you just can't, like physically you cannot. And so how special is that you are building this community of other thought leaders so your message can keep going and their messages can keep going while you're not on stage speaking to thousands. I think that's so powerful and I love this.
Love it too. And I think one more thing that's probably getting me fired up is I've been stepping more into the adult space. And by more, I mean like 20% versus 5%, And I know, Kelly, we talked about this, like the women's, like the right events, right? I have to feel called to speak to, because I do believe that wholeheartedly where I'm at is where I'm meant to be, whether it's one student or all of them or someone, I'm like, look, I'm here because somebody needs to hear this. And sometimes it's been the adults in the room that have come up to me and they're like, I really needed that. And I'm like, okay, good. Like, I'm so glad. What about it stood out to you? Like, I'm like, what do you mean? But so because the few I've done for the adult space have just had that kind of response. And I'm like, okay, there's something here that they need that I can do. So like, what does that look like? So that's also got me pretty fired up. So we'll see. TBD.
Yeah, well, especially if there are adults in those rooms with the students where your presentation is for students, right? Like that is technically your audience. So I think for me, you're probably healing a piece of those adults that are in that room that see themselves also as a teenager paying bills. Because yeah, when I hear little snippets of your story and just things that you have right from you on stage, every time I'm like, "Oh, I wish I was in that room." And I'm not a high schooler, but like, would go back, would hire you.
But I think that to your point, that's why I think adults kind of resonate with it because again, these adult I'm like I said, I'm 40 pretty much almost. I'm rounding a little bit, 39, but it's 40. But most of the adults I speak to are between, that 35 and 55. Like we were all in that generation. So like if I have this experience, you probably have a very similar one or know someone that has had a similar experience. So it just makes sense that there's a connection there. So
100%. We can all see ourselves in others a lot more than I think we realize sometimes because like you've said and pointed out many times in this podcast, the human experience is not unique.
yes,
It is and it isn't, but it's all the same emotions that we're experiencing just in different ways and different flavors.
for sure.
So to kind of round out the episode, and then after this, we'll have you tell everyone where they can find you and all that fun stuff. But one question that we love to close on with everyone is if you could go back and sit across from yourself at the start of your journey. So before the business, before the speaking, before the touring, before it all, what would you tell her?
Gosh. Okay. I said we should not get emotional. So I'm just going to leave with one sentence. And it's going to be okay. I really think I said I wasn't going to get emotional, but
Kyle podcast. You are very welcome. It's okay.
yeah, I really think that's all I needed, And yeah, I think that's all I needed. And that's all I want to be for someone else. I'm so sorry. I don't know why
Don't
okay.
you dare apologize.
but there's so much power in that, and just be like, look, you're not alone. I get it. And it's going to be okay. So, okay. Enough of that. What is going on?
Sing the message.
And we're done. No, you're perfect, really. We cry a lot on this.
Yeah. Fans of tears.
But obviously you have your tour ramping up. You have another, your New Year tour. You have your book. You have obviously your website and all the things. Just tell people what you got going on and how they can find you.
Well, fall is pretty much locked in. So very excited for that. So booking for the spring and the summer of 2026, which is crazy to think about that. First of all, that people book that far in advance. Isn't that crazy? Like just crazy. But that's the busiest time is between February and May, typically every year, because a lot of student leadership conferences, state leadership conferences for the different events are happening at that time. So that's the busiest time. So consider this my formal application to speak at your event. Feel free. My website, which is being rebranded, but it's still live, is BrittanyRichmond.com. Super easy. My Instagram is the Brittany Richmond. That's where I love to live. So Instagram is key. I have a LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is boring. So feel free to come over to Instagram and hang out with me. And yeah, and then my book is on Amazon. It's called Lies My Anxiety Has Told Me. Yeah. And also my email is info@BrittanyRichmond.com. I'd love to hear your story and hear from you. So yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you for having
your
me. Seriously. All right, I'm done. No crying.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We have new episodes coming out every Thursday, so we will catch you in one of the next ones.
And please take some time, follow us on @FindYourFuze or email us at info@findyourfuse.com for all inquiries and all exciting things that you want to chat with us about. We love building this community and we love you. Take some time and leave a review. Anything above 5 stars, we'd love it. But really, we appreciate you and we appreciate your feedback in any form because the more feedback we can get, the better we'll get. Okay, love you. Bye.